is going on, everybody? Welcome in. Thanks for joining us here on Alarm Fantasy Football. That's right. We go to the end of week 18, and then next week, then we'll cut the shows down a little bit. We'll do a weekly show here for Alarm Fantasy Football. I'm Howard Bender, welcoming you guys all in. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Fantasy Alarm YouTube page. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, get in on the action. With me, of course, Andrew Cooper. What is going on, Coop? We creep closer and closer to week 18. Players are being told that they're not going to play. We're hearing the news trickle in, practice reports coming in. How's week 18 treating you?
I love week 18, man. The only thing I don't like is when there's no news and rumors, like little advantages. I love that stuff. Week 1 is obviously the best for that because, there's so many moving parts, guys getting cut. The DFS prices come out so early. But week 18, man, every day a little something else comes out. We're going to see guys getting elevated from the practice squad, maybe, which maybe see some guys for the first time, right? It's kind of cool, especially for DFS, man, because not only do you have you got the guys that are sitting, you've got teams playing to win, so they're going to be going hard, playoff atmosphere. You've also got some incentives that, from time to time, we do see teams say, hey, you know what, let's get this guy his money, he deserves it. Or if you're Bill Belichick with Trent Brown, you make him a healthy scratch and cost him, $6.5 million or whatever it is there.
Now, how deep have you dived into that? Because that's an excellent point. Like, I just published the watch list, and on the watch list, and I threw it into our show sheet here. It's like, you want to invest in players who have something to play for in week 18. So, I listed just the teams, no reason to play their starters, who's going to be scoreboard watching, could partially sit starters, who's fighting for that playoff spot. But you make an excellent point here as far as incentives. I'm talking like yardage milestones, contract bonuses, everything like that. In there. Are you putting an article together of some sort here, Andrew?
I did last year, and of course I will again. But I will tell you this, Howard, you might be a little disappointed this year. Last year there was a ton of great ones, and we were able to take advantage of a lot of them. This year there's a couple, and we'll get into them as we get through some of this stuff here. But there's a few of them that you got to separate what's realistic and what's not. And you also have to separate what teams are willing to lean into versus not, right? Like in some of these games where they're playing to win, and if they lose, they're out. They're not going to go above and beyond. So we're just kind of factoring it in. And then there's some of them where think of like this one, for instance, when I was digging through, Sam Laporta could break Mike Ditka's all-time rookie receiving yard if he gets 216 yards.
Oh,
so,
yeah,
you know what I mean? There's a bunch of them that are like that where it's like, Tyreek Hill's going to play for his, but he still needs like 250. Then there are some that are interesting that we can get into, a couple that are very easily hit.
You're teasing me here. You're teasing
me. You want them? I get you. Austin, for instance, this one doesn't help us. Austin Eckler needs 10 yards from scrimmage to get an extra $100,000. That's going to happen. I do want to tease one of them because I'm using it for my underdog. So I'm going to leave that one out.
Is it Calvin Ridley needs 90 yards for his first 1,000-yard season since 2020?
It's not that one. That is a good one, though. That is a good one. It's not that one. This one is a monetary one. So I'll leave that one out. But there's a few that are interesting. I'll give you a few that aren't my one for underdog. Devin Singletary. He needs 74 yards from scrimmage to get an extra $125K. That's reasonable, but they're playing to win, so they're not going to go crazy doing it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's Indianapolis, and we love running on Indy.
That's right. Alexander Madison, also about 75 yards away from another $250,000.
Sucks. I don't care about him.
He sucks. Here's one that falls
They're
right.
ruining Ty Chandler's value every day.
Here's one that falls right into the realm of every combination that makes it seem very realistic. Is you have a diva wide receiver that only needs 5 extra catches to hit a $250,000 bonus. That is Odell Beckham Jr.
That's big.
That's interesting. So maybe he plays with Tyler Huntley and tries to get those 5 catches. I mean, $250,000, so I don't know. But that's
the type of guy to kind of push for that. And he'll say, and Harbaugh's one of those guys, though, also who will be like, listen, you
Right.
got to stay safe. You got to stay out of trouble. We want you to get this, this bonus, but we can't do it at the expense of you because we're the big dog in the playoffs right now.
Right. Yep. Bingo. So yeah, that's one where it's it's up in the air. Anthony points out Puka has the rookie. He currently has the most yards from scrimmage with the carries factored in of any rookie ever, but can take on the receiving yard record. And then DeAndre Hopkins is another one that he is also close to. It's like if he has a good day, he could get $250,000. If he has a really good day, he could get another $500,000. So
Okay.
yeah. I mean, he's definitely going to, I would say, based on the incentives, he'll get an extra $1 million if he gets 39 more yards. So DeAndre Hopkins, the guy I'm definitely liking this week. And then I got one more for you. And I'll put it together. I'll do it.
No. Keep going. Dude, see, these are the
I got one more. The one more I'm saving for underdog. One more I'm saving for underdog.
I thought you said one more before you saved the one for underdog. Didn't you? Am I? Do I need new earbuds?
I do have one more. The Seahawks are playing to win anyway, but Geno Smith gets an extra $2 million if they make the playoffs.
Oh, well, I mean, listen, that's that. On my list of teams with something to play for, and when I did the DFS watch list, Seahawks are in there. I've got Geno in there. I've got Kenneth Walker in there, even though he's banged up. I've got DK Metcalf listed in there, but I would also include guys like Jackson Smith-Njigba, even Tyler Lockett to a certain extent. These guys all need this, and listen, it's they need some help, right? Like they need to beat Arizona, which, come on, it's Arizona. Coming off of like a huge win for themselves last week, a nice little upset over the Eagles, but could they play spoiler again? We did hear that Kyler Murray is going to play. I do like Seattle in this matchup, though, a ton, even though their defense really isn't that great. It's got the potential of like a real shootout vibe to it because both defenses are that bad.
Right. Yeah. There's a few games here that I'm just like, and there's a few that are perfect for fantasy. I go back and forth between obviously we want the Bills and Dolphins to be, the night game, but that means it's not on the main slate for DFS. So,
which kind of a shame. Great. I'm fine with that because that just means that I don't have to lock in Tyreek Hill into my lineups. I don't have to pay up for Josh Allen. I don't have to pay up, for possibly Stephon Diggs. I'm totally fine with that game not being on the main slate. So all right. So let's talk about the teams who have no reason to play their starters.
Yeah.
Niners, Ravens, Chiefs, Browns.
That's right. Yep. They're locked in. They can't change their spots at all. They're good to go.
Yeah. Teams who may do some scoreboard watching, which means that it limits their players: Dallas, Philadelphia, the Lions, and the Rams.
Yes.
So personal records aside, I don't see a lot of these players, unless Dallas and Philadelphia get like the best out of Washington and the Giants. Like I see one of those teams pulling ahead significantly early and then the other team just being like, let's pull our guys.
Yeah. Sirianni already said he's scoreboard watching. So I'm staying away from the Eagles. The Cowboys, though, they have to win. It would be embarrassing for them to lose and end up with a 5 seed. And to pull your starters, they do have to score the points. So I'm a little more willing to start the CeeDee Lambs than those guys in the world.
Yeah.
For them to get pulled, they need to go up. The Lions are interesting here because any normal coach would probably consider pulling the starters, but they have probably the least normal coach in the league. And he already came out. They asked him 2 weeks ago about it, and he said they'll rest. He's like, they have plenty of time to rest in the off season. So and then this week he reiterated by saying the plan is for our guys to play. So that's one where they could pull him eventually, but I think they're going to at least start and play. And if Jameson Williams is healthy, that's one that I was talking to John Pepper. If he's fully healthy, that's a guy that they keep saying needs reps. He needs looks. I could see him being a kind of interesting dart just because even if they pull the rest of the starters, I think they might have him play,
Yeah, I mean, listen, you were talking about that yesterday. You brought up the point of coaches giving their younger players the reps that they need coming into the playoffs. It's why I left. I actually left because of what you said. I left Rashee Rice in the DFS watch list because even though the Chiefs don't have any incentive to play their starters, and we've already heard that Patrick Mahomes is not going to play. That news already broke. The question is does Rashee Rice, does Andy Reid feel Rashee Rice needs that time on the field just to keep him going? I feel like, that's the way Rice has performed all year. I could see that being like maybe he'll play a quarter.
Right, exactly. So I have 49ers, Ravens, Browns. Those players are all in red tape. Yellow that I'm staying away, definitely Eagles, definitely Lions at this point, just because, as Anthony points out, the parameters have changed a little bit from what he said. That also the Rams, as you mentioned, that one concerns me because McVay is kind of a player's coach. 6 seed versus 7 seed, it's like, is it worth getting Cooper Kupp hurt over? So I don't know. With some of these
I
teams,
think they'll do some scoreboard watching too, because it's going to be a matter of who's going to win that number 2 seed. Like, do we fall into the 7 seed and just say, screw it, we'll play the number, I guess it would be the number 3 seed that they would play.
Right. So 6 versus 7, that's the question. And all those teams play at 425. So they did a good job of making the afternoon slate full of. So the other team that matters for the Rams is the Packers, right? With the 6 versus 7 seed. And they also play at 4 o'clock. So yeah, that's one where they're going to be watching it. But yeah, it makes me scared that those guys could be pulled, because McVay does seem like the guy that the moment he thinks the moment he's like, you know what, get him out, he'll take him right out. So
pull him off.
Yellow tape there. After that, we get into the sweet spot, right? Where it's like teams that are playing to win. And a lot of these teams are playing against division rivals where they could be playing spoiler a little bit. So definitely interesting if you want to get into the next group of the real fighters here, Howard.
Yeah. Now, for those of you playing season long, we'll include obviously the Texans, the Colts, and the Steelers. They all play on Saturday.
Yeah.
Right. And they all have an incentive right now. Each team needs the win.
Needs to win
in order to make the playoffs. So with that aspect over there, Houston, Indy, and Pittsburgh, all their starters are going to be out there. Unless either of the games get so crazy out of hand, which I don't really see it happening. Although I wouldn't mind C.J. Stroud throwing for 5 touchdown passes on the Colts. And
that would be sweet. I mean, I'm telling you, if you're playing that 2-game slate, which I'm going to play, I'm
stacking this game.
Yeah, I'm loading up on that game, and then I might sprinkle maybe a little George Pickens. It's George Pickens, right? Okay. So, man, is it too chalk then? Right? Because he's dialed in with Rudolph, right? So yeah, I like that. I like loading up on that game, man. That should be a fun game too. 8:15 on Saturday. All right.
Right, 8:15 on Saturday. It's the Dragon, actually, is now Mason Rudolph. It's Mason the Dragon Rudolph, as thrown out there by Josh Wagner on the SiriusXM channel last night. So, and I'm fine with that, right? I mean, if you want to say that, the year of the Dragon starts off with Mason Rudolph, absolutely crushing it. Okay, I can definitely dig that. So those 3 teams have something to play for. Not on the DFS main slate, but both teams obviously highly incentivized, the Bills and the Dolphins.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, if the Dolphins win, they take the division, and that's great. If the Dolphins lose, they're already locked into a playoff spot. So that's not like a huge thing. For Buffalo, what Buffalo needs is if Buffalo loses, they need Pittsburgh to beat Baltimore. And I believe they need Pittsburgh to beat Baltimore, and they just need Houston, Indy to not end up in a tie.
Right. So tomorrow because both those games are sorry, not tomorrow, Saturday. Both those games are Saturday. So we'll know going into that game whether Buffalo is on the hot seat or not. I am obviously rooting for, like I said, I'm team chaos now because my Patriots are trash. So I'm rooting for it to be a Bills win or don't make the playoffs at all game. So I am rooting for that. Go tie. Go tie.
I don't mind the chaos. I don't mind the chaos. And listen, again, I even said this on the show. Brit's in here. I said this on yesterday. On yesterday's Alarm Fantasy Football, and I said it. I doubled down on it on Sirius XM. Sorry, Brit, but aside from telling Jim that I hope that the Commanders, win, and the Cowboys look like idiots because Jim is going off the rails right now.
Of course he is.
Right,
playing in the parades.
Right, dude crapped all over Dalvin Cook the entire year, and now all of a sudden Dalvin Cook is like the greatest guy ever because he's hoping that the Cowboys sign him for the playoffs.
Yeah, he's got fresh legs, right? But that tweet was written by his agent. Like, I wonder what it costs to get one of those tweets published, right?
But what I also said, though, was that I am 100% rooting, and I love you, Bills Mafia, but I am 100% rooting for Brit. And that means that Buffalo does not make the playoffs. They lose this game. Brit ends up being correct about her under 10.5 wins for Buffalo. And all the haters out there can suck it.
Can eat it, yeah. So we're rooting for arm punts from Josh Allen. We know he's highly capable of that. What else we got for must wins, Howard?
All right, must wins down the list here. All right, so here we go. So Jacksonville must win. If they win, then they own the division. If they lose, then they need more help because I don't know what they're. If they lose, then either Houston or Indy, the winner of that Houston-Indy game, is going to be the ones who get in. So can the Jaguars do it? Trevor Lawrence expected to play. Right. Doug Peterson already came out and said that he expects Lawrence out there on the field. They opened up the practice window, the 21-day window on Christian Kirk.
I saw that, yeah.
So there is a chance now that Kirk, if he practices, today, tomorrow, Friday, right, and even does like the walkthrough on Saturday, that Christian Kirk could be on the field for the Jaguars, which definitely changes the passing game for Jacksonville.
Changes the whole feng shui. I have, as of this moment, Evan Engram as my number 1 ranked tight end this week. If Christian Kirk were to play, that could change that. It could affect it. But as of right now, I just look around at the guys that aren't playing, the guys that don't have incentives, the Sam Laportes of the world that could play half a game, right? And I say Evan Engram, the way he's been playing in a must-win game with no possibly Christian Kirk, possibly no Zay Jones, he's tight end 1. But if Christian Kirk plays, maybe that throws a little wrench in it. Maybe we move Trey McBride up. But when you weigh the gravity of the game and the incentives and everything, he's like one of the only guys who's been a top tight end that is playing for something,
Yeah. So I'm definitely, you got to keep a very strong look on the Jags this week. They've got Tennessee. Yeah, it's Tennessee this week. So we pass on Tennessee. And so that's kind of what I want to see. Tampa Bay. They are a win away from their 3rd straight divisional title. Thank you to Tom Brady, I guess. But here we go. So Tampa Bay, they can win the division, get that 4 seed, excuse me, the 4 seed in the playoffs and move forward. So Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, they're playing New Orleans, who also obviously has a major incentive here as well. And so now the question is how much are we investing in they played the Saints last week. Who's Tampa play this week?
Tampa is playing the Panthers this week.
Panthers, that's right.
So in the South divisions, those are the ones on both sides with a ton up in the air. AFC South, the only team that can't win the division is the Titans. The other 3 teams have ways to win the division. And same thing with the NFC South. The only team that can't win it is the Panthers. But any of the other teams, I know, sorry. They're me out the playoffs. And some of these other teams all the other teams have a chance to win it. So, and there's a bunch of like crazy scenarios where other teams can backdoor their way into the playoffs or sneak into the playoffs depending on these games. So everybody's watching these games because if the Bucks lose and the Saints lose and the Packers lose, now all of a sudden the 3% chance Vikings can somehow super backdoor their way into the playoffs. So like these games are super meaningful across the board. Teams like the Seahawks also are depending on the outcomes of these games. So it's this is where it's kind of a mess in the NFC.
Doesn't Atlanta have like a 1% chance too to make it happen?
Not only the best part about the Atlanta one, my favorite part about it is because the odds are so bad, but the only way they can get in is winning the division. Because if certain things go right, they will actually win the division, and in that case, they'll have a higher seed. They'll have a better seed than the Eagles, which is so stupid.
Dude, that's crazy. So, all right. So wait. So for Atlanta to win, so Atlanta needs to win. So they need. I'm sure they need Carolina to beat Tampa Bay.
They need the foul. They need Tampa Bay to lose. They need the Saints to lose as well.
Right. And they need the
Bucks. I think that's actually it. That's actually it. If they win, if they win and the Saints lose, if they beat the Saints and the Bucks lose, they win the division. As crazy as that sounds. So it's actually it's not that, and then they would have the 4 seed and the Eagles would be the 5 seed, which is awesome.
Would that just be the most Arthur Smith thing to happen to the NFL? Is that like the 1% chance the Falcons do win the division, they make it to the playoffs, and then Arthur Smith's like, look at what it did. I got us to the playoffs. We took it down to the divisional title. You can't fire me now.
Yeah, and then you'd have a home game, and then you would have 100%. That's where Chick-fil-A would step in and make sure that playoff game's on a Saturday instead of a Sunday so that they'll be open. Have you heard that? There's a Chick-fil-A in the stadium.
In the stadium.
So yeah, I bet my bottom dollar that game's on. Big Chicken's gonna make sure that game's on a Saturday.
Big Chicken's gonna make that happen. Oh my god!
But yeah, I mean it's possible, dude. It's crazy. It sounds.
There we go. Geezy 209.
Oh, that's Jeezy. I asked him on Monday. It's Jeezy. Jeezy. All right, 209.
So Jeezy says Wentz is starting for the Rams. It was just announced on Twitter.
There you go, dude. So McVay, there's so many different classes of coaching. Look at McVay versus Campbell, right? Dan Campbell, where like they could. That's the difference between the 6 and 7 seed, which is kind of wild. The thing is, the 7 seed gets to play the 7 seed has to play the 49ers. So I don't know, man. I don't know if the
49ers have a bye.
Sorry, no. Oh yeah, so they'll play the 2 seed, which is the Cowboys, most likely. Interesting.
Yeah, where's the let me just
3 seed. 3 seed is going to be the Lions.
Yes, the 3 seed is going to be the Lions. So they're going to end up taking on the 6 seed, right? 4 is going to take on 5, 3 against 6, 2 against no. It's
2 against 7.
It's 2 against 8, right?
No, 2 against 7. There's 7.
Okay, so 2 against 7, 3 against 6, 4 against 5.
Right. So you would have, yeah. The thing is, there is like, if the Cowboys were to lose, there is a way that the Lions could get the 2 seed, but it's just not. It's the most likely outcome is they're the 3 seed. But yeah, that's kind of interesting. Rams, man. That's I'm thinking about like, dude, I'm like, they don't care. They don't care about 6 or 7, which is kind of interesting. I wonder what went into that decision, but maybe it's just
all right. So either 2 is playing 7, right? So either they feel like they match up well enough against the Cowboys, right? Or they just, or they think that the Eagles are going to end up being the team to beat, like somehow, and whatever. Or if they think that they just stay right where they are at the 6 seed, right? I mean, where are they? If they lose this game, they're 9-8.
Right, and I think they actually, if they lose, so for what I'm saying, if they lose, then they can still get the 6 seed if the Packers lose. If they lose and the Packers win, then the Packers are 6 and they're 7. And the Packers game is the one that determines if these other teams sneak in the playoffs or not. Because if the Packers lose, now there's other teams that can sneak in as the 7 seed that aren't the Packers.
So I'm sure McVay's feeling is, you know what? Screw it. We'll hope that everything works out. We'll play the Lions in the first round or whatever. If we have to play Dallas, let's face facts. if we want to win the Super Bowl, we're going to have to beat Dallas in Dallas anyway. So we might as well just try and get them when they're like, maybe overconfident or, looking ahead a little too far in the future as to like what their next matchup's going to be. So I could see that. And, listen, I think if McVay just, the Packers losing would be a big deal. If Minnesota could beat the Packers, would make things a little easier for the Rams. But I mean, listen, either way, I'm fine. I'm fine fading the Rams for this week. I really am. You know what? If I don't have to make that Puka Nacua versus Cooper Kupp decision in DFS, I'm a happy camper.
That's great news. Yeah, exactly. And you know what? No Kyra. I'm not using the running backs. I'm not using anybody. It's great. I'm wiping them off the board. There's enough good players out there.
So, all right, before we get into some more of these teams and what we're looking at for DFS, because those are all the teams that, they're fighting for a playoff spot. They're fighting for better seeding. These are the teams that, you want to invest in for DFS and, DFS main slate, Jaguars, Bucks, Packers, Seahawks, Saints, Vikings, Falcons. It's not a great group of teams there, but there's enough in there to kind of give you some hope, right? Right off the bat, like Geno Smith, Jordan Love, like those guys intrigue me the most as like quarterbacks for this. Running backs, obviously Rachaad White always tips the gets me worked up. Maybe I'll even look at Bijan Robinson, Alvin Kamara, and see what happens there. But then, listen, then there are teams that have absolutely nothing to play for, right? I mean, losing games, like the way we're set right now for teams that are like going to get the top 3 draft picks, they're pretty locked in right now. So teams like the Giants or whatever, they don't have anything really to play for. And they're not really like, moving up or down a spot in the draft is not really like a huge deal. But there are some great matchups, and we'll take a look at them right after we shout it out to our good friends over at Underdog Fantasy. You can hit this QR code that you see right here on the screen, or go to fantasyalarm.com/underdog. Use the promo code ALARM. They'll give you an instant deposit match up to $100 on your first time deposit. And as Coop and I have talked about here over the last couple of days, it's not just about playing the pick'em contests that they have over there. We're moving into best ball baseball season. We're going to be doing best ball football drafts throughout, like right around the NFL draft, all of that stuff. Did you just come? I swear to God, you just look like you
just picturing best ball football season, man. I'm back, dude. I'm ready to rock. But yeah,
I feel violated. I feel gross right now.
My. We might need to start the read.
Oh my.
We might need to start the read from the beginning.
I feel so bad for the poor lady who birthed baby Laney right now, because that's what she's looking at.
Here comes the best ball, baby. Here comes the best ball.
Anyway, shout out to our friends over at Underdog. Brian Burns is going to have to do more editing here. Good job, Burnsy. FantasyAlarm.com/underdog. Use the promo code ALARM for that instant deposit match up to $100. Again, that QR code. And yes, best ball for baseball, best ball for football. You can use the funds for that. You can use them for the pick'em contest. Now we're gonna give you a couple of picks. We gave you a pair of picks yesterday. Going to give you a couple of more picks here. No Thursday night game, which I secretly love and adore beyond belief. Which should make you happy. No live stream for you on Thursday night, right? Leading up to the game.
That kind of makes me sad. I love the live streams, man. I love the right before the games. I love Sunday morning. So it does make me a little sad, but
All right. Well, you still have Sunday, so don't be sad.
We have Sunday.
Nevertheless, what do we got, Coop? Let's do some pick'em picks here for this week. Where do you want to start?
I'll start with mine because I alluded to it earlier. Top secret play here with a lot on the side of the play, including some individual monetary incentive for the player, Howard. So in this one, I'm going to our primo Saturday matchup with Dalton Schultz. Here's what we're doing. The Texans need to win, right? It's a good matchup for Schultz. He's been a huge part of the team while Tank Dell's been out. He just made it through the gauntlet of tight end defenses with Tennessee, Cleveland, and Tennessee again. And on top of all that, Howard, on top of all that, if he catches 6 balls this week, he personally gets another $250,000. 6 balls is right in his wheelhouse, directly in the wheelhouse. And if they're up big or whatever, they're definitely going to get him the passes. I know they're not going to go out of the way to do it, but he's already a part of the offense. If he's got 4 or 5, he's definitely going to be in the OC or QBZ or saying, hey, by the way, if I catch one more, I get $250,000. Just saying. So for me, I look at 42.5 yards, and I'm going higher on that.
I like it. I'm going to double down on how delicious that pick was, because I'm just going to say that his quarterback, CJ Stroud, not only gets him his $250,000 with his 6 catches, but at least one of those catches is going for 6, baby. It's going into the end zone against this Indianapolis Colts defense between Dalton Schultz and Nico Collins and Noah Brown and Robert Woods, and just take your pick of any receivers and pass catchers there with Houston. CJ Stroud, 1.5 passing touchdowns, higher. It's as easy as that.
I like that.
As easy as that.
So, what's interesting is, so you can take that 2 ways. You can only go with one on a player, one on each player. So if you wanted to do the CJ Stroud and in the yardage, you could do that, or the Dalton Schultz touchdown this week is one of the scorchers with the yes. So 0.5 rush plus receiving is a scorcher. You get 1.75x, and if you combine enough of those chili peppers, the scorchers, you can get up to 100x. That's where they cap you. So I don't know. I might have to put in a couple of these. One on the yards, one on the hot tamales there with Dalton Schultz. So get those in, and you got to pick somebody from the other team too. I don't know. Maybe we can deliberate on who we're going to have coming back.
We gave them picks yesterday. We're going to give them picks tomorrow. These are picks that I'm not going to be forced into making a pick here for the Colts for you guys. You guys mix and match, right? Take picks from yesterday's and then mix them in with today's, and you're completely fine. The key here is that you're playing on Underdog Fantasy, that you're going to fantasyalarm.com/underdog. And you're using that promo code ALARM, and you're getting that instant deposit match up to $100. Use our Pick'em contest picks for today's show, yesterday's show. Maybe you just want to wait and see what we're going to do tomorrow. We've got a whole other episode ahead for you guys. So shout out to our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Get on over there, folks. You won't be sorry. Now, back to the business here, Coop.
Of course.
Let's talk about the teams here who have nothing on the line whatsoever. But the question is do we want to invest in these teams? Because some of these matchups, I mean, let's face facts, they are super, super soft and squishy, right? I mean, I think that, we're looking at here are the teams that have nothing to play for, nothing on the line at all. Denver, Cincinnati, Las Vegas, the Jets, the Giants, the Titans, the Chargers, the Patriots, the Bears, the Commanders, the Panthers, and the Cardinals. Now, obviously, I don't want to sit here and invest heavily in certain offenses that, are kind of stuck in the mud. Coop did say something about DeAndre Hopkins earlier, but that's probably the only Titan I would even remotely look at. I'm not looking at, any Jets. I'm not looking at any Patriots at all. I'm probably not even looking at any Chargers. Where I am looking, though, Coop, I'll say this Denver-Las Vegas game, I kind of feel like maybe I'm crazy, but I like Aiden O'Connell. I like Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers. If he plays, I like Michael Mayer.
Ooh.
Antonio Pierce,
it's a great matchup. It's a great matchup.
Right? It's a phenomenal matchup. Like, defensively, the Broncos are still a hot mess. But here's the thing. Antonio Pierce wants to lose the interim tag. He wants this coaching job badly. His players love him, right? they're going to go all out here against Denver. It is the final home game of the season in Las Vegas. Win, solidify certain things. I've got Aiden O'Connell auditioning for next year. Devontae Adams, who's pissed and moaned the entire season, has come on in 2 out of the last 3 games like a house of fire. He wants to go out strong. Jacoby Myers. And here's the other thing is Michael Mayer, who's been banged up this entire year. It's been kind of an up and down season for him. He hasn't really gotten anything going. But like you said, reps for these youngsters is very, very important. Wouldn't it be great to see Michael Mayer kind of say, hey, look for me in 2024 while I dominate these Denver Broncos right now?
Yeah, and that's the big thing for me. And I'll tell you what, in my weekly snap count article that I'm just about done with here, I took it above and beyond. So I went in and looked at all this stuff. I told you, I go and I'm saying who I think could be a young guy playing, who might not be. For me, the key is the injury for Michael Mayer, right? If he's hurt at all, like if he's a full participant for the rest of the week, I'm in. If he's hurt at all, I worry in games like this because these coaches also want to prove they know how to manage these teams. And if you send a guy out like that and he gets hurt in the last game of the year, that's going to be a big ding. So I look at some of these setups, and there are a few of those. We'll talk about them with other games. In this particular game, though, I'm definitely down on Devontae Adams and the big dogs. Zamir White, of course, if Jacob's going to be out again because there's no reason to run him out. What do you think? Jarrett Stidham revenge game coming back the other way? You think he's going to make
a revenge game coming back the other way?
Yeah. There's just Brandon Johnson, Lil Jordan Humphrey, these guys, you don't have to use them, but they showed this week that they can play football. I mean, Lil Jordan Humphrey had one of the best plays of the year, no question on that. I mean, he made everybody miss, finished the play. So I think these guys can play. John and Pemba, we just talked on the last show. I want to ask your opinion. He's thinking about dabbling in a little Jaleel McLaughlin on the other side, right? You got a team. If you're going to see what the young guys have, why not, right? I wish Marvin Mims was available for this game, but I don't think he is going to be. So that's a shame. But that's what we're doing with these games. Look around and say, okay, borderline meaningless game, but teams want to know what they have. Who can go out there for live tryouts and get a look? And for the Broncos, they got a few guys that are still trying to make this team, and a couple guys like Jerry Jeudy that I don't know. I mean, they picked up his 5th-year option. He hardly even played last week, but he's kind of guaranteed money for next year. So very weird team, the Broncos, Howard. Very strange team.
Yeah, very strange team. I'm definitely more in on using Raiders than I am Broncos in this one
for
here.
Sure.
The other team that I'm kind of looking at also is the Chicago Bears. So first and foremost, wouldn't it be great to just go into Green Bay, into Lambeau, and beat the Packers and ruin their hopes and dreams of making the playoffs? I think that's definitely something that, needs to, we can pay attention to a little bit here. That's something that I think gets watched. But for me, I look at this and say, all right, you got you're going up against the Packers. You've got Justin Fields. You've got DJ Moore. I don't know if Cole Kmet is going to be available for this game or not, but wouldn't you like to finish the season on a high note here? Because what are you saying to any free agent who's looking at another team? Hey, look, Justin Fields and DJ Moore, we're going to end up with Marvin Harrison Jr., right? With our next pick, with our, because we have the number 1 pick. We can either just take Marvin Harrison Jr. or we can leverage it with, one of the teams at 2 or 3 who's looking for a QB. So wouldn't it be super enticing to any free agent wide receiver out there, or wide receiver, offensive lineman, anything like that, come play in Chicago? We're making a run at the division. We're making a run at the Super Bowl this year. Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you, like the one interesting one I look at of that, you mentioned it, Cole Kmet. I see no reason for him to play. I wouldn't mind sneaking a little Robert Tonyan in on some DFS too.
Right.
Revenge
game narrative.
Revenge game narrative. It would be if Cole. This is another one. I look at it and say, okay, some of these guys have been banged up all year long. You play through injuries if you must. Cole Kmet went out last week hurt and only played 13 snaps. They would be insane to play him in a borderline meaningless game. I know you want to play spoiler, but that would be insanity to me. Robert Tunyon went out and ran like almost 30 routes, got a couple targets, and 2,800 on DraftKings. The tight end article is going to be full of guys like that this week. So I'm interested there for sure. And then, of course, the Packers have to win this. If they lose this, they're out. So you can, if you want to stack that one up a little bit, you can have Packers coming back the other way.
You definitely have Packers coming back the other way. It's funny that you mentioned that about the tight ends, because the last tight end that I listed in the DFS watch list, none other than Harrison Bryant.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have, Jeff Driscoll starting for the Browns. There's no way that David Njoku's playing this game, right?
No.
I don't see why Harrison Bryant wouldn't get some reps against the team that has been the absolute worst against the tight end this entire season.
Exactly. And Harrison Bryant's a better pass catcher than Jordan Akins. And I even went to check their practice squad. I was like, okay, do they have any ringers on the practice squad? A couple of these teams do have athletic tight ends. They have some guy, Zaire Mitchell Payton, that even if they were to call him up, he would probably be a blocking tight end. So it's kind of, they got nowhere else to go than Harrison Bryant. So yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. What about you? Like teams that have nothing on the line right now, anybody interest you? You mentioned DeAndre Hopkins because of the incentives, but
because of the incentives, yeah.
What about your Patriots here? I kind of like Ezekiel Elliott in this matchup. The Jets are terrible. And let's face facts. Bill Belichick could be coaching his last game for the Patriots. And wouldn't it be just the ultimate up yours? From the moment that this dude wrote, I resign from the HC position on like a bar napkin, right? He has made it a point to screw the Jets at every possible turn. Every possible turn. So, give me Zeke with what 15 to 18 touches in this game?
Could easily be. That's one where I think Zeke still wants to show that he can play. He already has shown that, but I don't see them really going to the backups here. I think this is just going to, as Britt points out, 30.5 point over under, going to be an ugly game. The Patriots probably will win, honestly. Knowing Belichick, he has his own personal thing he's doing, chasing Don Shula. I think he's just trying to win by any means necessary, and if they move on from him, he'll try and win there. But it really would be a setback for the franchise to win this game. But as a coach, if you want to win, all you got to do is tell these guys, hey, by the way, every game we win, if we win this game, it moves all our picks back in each round. And that could be the difference between you keeping your job and not keeping your job, right? Kyler Murray has been playing, his ass off for that exact reason, because he knows that the closer the Cardinals are to that top pick, the more likely it was for them to lose a job. Now he's been reassured that he's going to keep the job, right? And they're trying to build a winning culture. So that's the other one from this group of meaningless teams. The Cardinals had no reason to go out and play as hard as they did last week because they were already eliminated, and they looked great, and they beat the Eagles. I can see the Cardinals coming out this week again and saying, hey, you know what? We're building a winning culture. We're going to do what the Lions did in Dan Campbell's first season and end the season on winning note, right? So I don't mind starting Cardinals here. Definitely like Michael Wilson. People are going to be off him. He's playing a ton of snaps. So yeah, Dortch, super deep dart throw if they want to rest McBride a little bit. Elijah Higgins, converted wide receiver who went to Stanford. He actually got some snaps last week, but I'm probably not going to go there. But yeah, you got to look around and say who's going to start guys, who's going to not. For guys
did you see the cover? Did you see the cover of the watch list this week?
I have not checked it out. No, who is on
the cover of the watch list? James Conner.
He looked amazing.
He looked amazing last week. I heard his post-game interview, and aside from all the yay God stuff that he was throwing out there, like this means a lot to him, and he wants to finish the season on a high note. Jonathan Gannon wants his team to finish off on a high note, and Seattle is so bad against the run. Like, how do you not just say, you know what? All right, let's just empty the chamber here on James Conner and just let him just boom, 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 boom the entire time and wear him down.
I'm in. There are a few guys that from this group that I'm out on. Anybody that has any sort of injury concerns, this is where those guys do not go hard. So number one for me is Darren Waller. He has not played more than 60% of the snaps since he's been back.
I don't even know who he is anymore.
I know. And just for them to go out in a meaningless game or borderline meaningless here and get him hurt. He's talked about how these hamstring issues he has are like super deep seated and possibly like, like stuff that he's going to deal with for the rest of his life. For him to go out and get hurt in this game makes no sense. Cole Kmet makes no sense, right? There's the Chargers. No reason to start Keenan Allen. No reason to start Josh Palmer. Like you can take that to the bank. What I wanted to ask you about, Howard, of this group that I can't decide which way it's going to go, and maybe that means we stay away from both of them, is the Titans with the running backs. Because on one hand, you got this young running back, Tajay Spears, and we say, hey, you know what? Maybe get the young guy some looks. On the other hand, this might be Derrick Henry's last game with the Tennessee Titans. And maybe they just say, hey, you know what? Last time out, let's go out with a bang. So I don't know which. If you had to guess a direction, what are you thinking on that?
I am very much more on the mindset of Tajay Spears being the guy here. I think that, I mean, Henry's been great and everything, but I mean, this whole year has been blah. We've seen it kind of fizzle out. I don't really feel like the Titans are going to be that sentimental about, Derrick Henry when you've got a guy like Tajay Spears where, again, it's much more important to see how Tajay Spears, what if, can I see Tajay Spears handle an entire workload by himself against a typically decent run defense like the Jaguars? They've got everything to play for. We don't. Let's see what happens here. Let's push it for Tajay Spears. I think Tennessee's very much ready to just, I think when he showed up and he ran for like 13 yards on 16 carries against Houston.
It wasn't even that good, Howard. It wasn't even that good. It was 9 yards on 16 carries and then 1 yard on 4 receptions for a grand total of 20 touches for 10 yards. Gross.
So bad. So I think they're just like, yeah, listen, this has been great. Yeah. You know what? We gave you some touchdown passes this year. That's your parting gift. You know what? We'll give you a Rolex at the end of it all. See you later.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you on that. Another one that I think will probably be a popular pick, but I don't see why the Bengals have any reason to run Joe Mixon into the ground. So what a great opportunity to flash a little bit of that Chase Brown in a game where the Browns are going to be benching everybody, right?
Yeah.
So potentially some defensive players. I don't see why Myles Garrett chasing any milestones still. I think he's probably got defensive player of the year locked up. So he's probably not going to go. Some of those guys might not go. Why not see a little Chase Brown action here? So
yeah, I don't mind Chase Brown. Good. I like that call. I definitely like that call. I think that's a way to go. I'm trying to think of anybody else who
is he a Banacanda? I'm looking around. Kev in the chat mentioned Pierre Strong, which is kind of interesting because if you're benching the starters, no, that's a Rudolph with your nose so bright. Pierre Strong, you look at the depth chart, there's only 3 guys on it. And they use Jerome Ford, they use Kareem Hunt. If you're going to go to the backup, this is the guy. So I don't know. He's crazy fast. 99th percentile speed for this player. 4.42, I think it was something like that. So who knows? He could break off a big one.
Britt Flynn says that we're ruining her matchup previews. Are we ruining them or are we hyping them up? Like, come on, everybody knows that Britt's weekly previews are where it's all at. We know that. You got Kev's target report. You got Britt's weekly matchup report. We get it. We're just hyping this shit up. How many times do we have to,
Yeah, get fired up, dude. It's week 18, dude.
It's week 18, baby.
I think you'll never get more crazy and interesting narratives than week 18, right? I guess, it's week 1 and week 18 where you get the craziness.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
That's exactly right. Is there anyone else? I know we didn't really hit on it. What are your thoughts on starting backups for the teams that are benching all the starters? I usually don't love it, but I know you're in on Elijah Mitchell, right?
Who is I'm starting to pivot away from him already. I just saw a report saying that Jordan Mason could be the lead back, which means that, Kyle Shanahan's like, listen, Mitchell's my go-to, backup, and he's injury prone. So let me give Jordan Mason all the looks here. And you know what? In this matchup against the Rams, yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind that at all. I think that that's probably a decent spot to be in.
Right. And I worry, and I talked about this on the show before with John. John and I every once in a while get a little snippy with each other, about once a show minimum. And on this one,
That should smack you in the mouth.
Really? I thought I was the only one that you got snippy with. You get snippy with John? Why?
On Thursday, Ann Dunn had to pop in the chat and say, I forget what she said, but she made us sound like toddlers. She was like, quit bickering or whatever.
What were you guys arguing about?
I don't even remember. We were arguing about DFS on we were doing a showdown DFS Thursday night matchup, and we were just arguing. And early on the show before, we were arguing about this because he likes Elijah Mitchell, and I was saying, I was like, the thing that we like about Elijah Mitchell is that when the starter's out, he gets to run behind the starters, Trent Williams and Kyle Juszczyk. If those guys aren't going to play the whole game, then what's the appeal? That's the concern for me. So I'm pivoting away. Me and John got a little snippy on that, though. But week 18 arguments, dude.
That escalated quickly.
Well, usually because I thought that, I was like, well, you sometimes get a little snippy with me when I try to hustle you along from stop talking about this fourth string tight end that nobody cares about for dynasty purposes when we're talking about the upcoming DFS slate.
Oh, I got the deepest cut tight end you could possibly
See,
think of for this week.
That just went right over your head. You're like, I don't care. Olay.
That was just an invite. That you just instead of trying to teach me a lesson about not doing that, you actually just invited me to bring up the deepest deep cut tight end that currently has not played a game all year and might not even be activated this week. But here's the play, Howard.
Quit boring everyone.
Isaiah Gathings, Isaiah with a Z, is a tight end that used to play wide receiver, converted to tight end, was signed to the Chiefs practice squad a couple weeks ago. And if they bench Travis Kelce, people don't realize that Noah Gray still plays like 60% of the snaps. He's a quote-unquote starter for this team. He might also be benched. They might call this kid up, and then it's Blake Bell and Isaiah Gathings. This is a guy that it will be, if you start him in DFS, it will be you and me, and that's it, starting this guy. So if he scores, that will be fun. He's 6'3". Howard, listen to this, ready? He's 6'3", 220, right? So I'm like, nice, he's a wide receiver. I went and looked it up. I was like, is this guy fast? Like, what's his 40 time? He's a wide receiver. Hey, Howard, he runs a 4.7 something. So
oh, he's fast. Oh,
no, he's
okay.
not. No, he's not fast. He's not fast. It's the opposite. He runs
sarcastic.
Yeah, he runs he runs like a 7th percentile 40 time for wide receivers.
I wonder why he had to convert to tight end in the NFL. It's so weird.
So it's like, in Space Jam when Newman's character from Seinfeld gets on the court and he's like, I may not be tall, but I'm slow. That's that's Isaiah Gathings. But I'll tell you what, if he's the only show in town, we're gonna make a lineup with him for sure. There you go.
If the only show in town.
Yeah. So I did manage to talk about a fourth, not even fifth string tight end for 4 minutes just now.
Boring.
Shut up, Ernst.
Well, that's all right, man. Because you know what? We had some time to kill anyway. Yes, we've already said Jonathan Reardon in the chat. We talked about Devontae Adams and Zamir White. I'm very much in on the Las Vegas Raiders this week.
You nailed it, buddy.
I think that they are. I think Antonio Pierce and the entire team are just looking to show what they can do together here, so that way everybody just stays around, and maybe, just maybe, it lures in more free agents. But that's going to do it for us here on the show today. We thank everybody for tuning in, for subscribing, for your comments in the chat, everybody out there. We absolutely love and appreciate each and every one of you. So we'll be back here again tomorrow. Again, I've got the DFS watch list up. Coop's got his full weekly rankings, his tight end yin yang rankings. He's got the snap count article coming. He's going to have an incentive and milestones article coming all out before the Saturday games. Remember, no Thursday night games. So free and clear. We can kind of take our time a little bit as we move through it all. But that's going to do it for us here on Alarm Fantasy Football. Big thank you to Brian Burns, our illustrious producer. And Britt Flint saying Tyreek's house caught on fire. Huh. Let's pour one out for Lisa Left Eye as we get news like that. We'll see what happened on that one there. Thank you for the update there, Britt. In the meantime, I'm Howard Bender. He's Andrew Cooper. This has been Alarm Fantasy Football, and we'll catch you next time.
Adios, turd nuggets.